morning. You see it's early in the morning. I don't know if you can see the clock. It's 8 o'clock. Actually 8:30. A little late start to this. But someone asked, hey, you make videos. Try doing an instructional video on one of your cooks. So I'm going to give it a try today, see how I do. And since it's only me, I'm going to try to do this without, I guess, the minimum number of takes, so to speak. I'm just going to try to roll this. If I flub up in my words, I apologize. We're going to have fun. That's the important part, right? So today, it's all about pork shoulder. This is an 8-pound right here. I'm going to do pulled pork. Now, what we do here in the South, let me get a paper towel here, is that when you prepare one of these, the thing I look for all the time is any kind of loose fat. Anything that's loose is going to hang or get burnt in the cook itself. So you see right here, this fat right here, I'm going to take this off right here and look over the entire pork butt itself. You can see, usually there's a flap right down here by the money muscle, which is right here. Except I don't see any flaps, but there's some excess fat right here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this fat off. The reason why I do that is some people say that you leave the fat on for rendering, for moisture content, but we're gonna have plenty of moisture from the spritz of apple juice a couple times during the cook. But this limits your rub getting to the meat. You want the meat to be nice and seasoned. This side looks okay here. Now the back side, the fat cap over here, the bottom side, the fat right above the bacon, so to speak. Some people leave this on, like right when you get ready to pull, this will actually come off in one sheet. But to me personally, you have this much fat on there. Yes, it might help with rendering down to the muscle, but you're just limiting the amount of surface area where you get your rub on and get nice bark. So I like to go ahead and trim down this bark. You want to make sure your knife is sharp as you're doing this. Okay, follow along like that. Looking good right there. Get that started. Try to make sure your knife is sharp. Get a nice little flap going. There we go, looking at that. Now the trick is you don't have to get it all off. You just want to get the majority of it off. Down where you see some exposed muscle through here. So your whatever rub you're using has a chance to bind to it. That's starting to look good right there. Now let's go get this little part right here off. The amount of prep work you put into your meat is definitely going to help out in your cook and your presentation later on. Let's get this smaller knife here. Of course, apologize for the dogs barking in the background. Get that off. One last trim right here, and I apologize. That's going to stay in the video because like I said, I'm going to try to do this in one cut. Sassy! Sorry about the dogs barking, but it's part of the deal, so to speak. Looking pretty good right here. As we get this a little bit right here off. Like I said, it does not have to be perfect. The idea is you want to get a lot of the fat off where you have nice square meat. Now, something we do here in the South, when you're doing this, it's up to you. You can put a binder on. You don't have to put a binder on, but it helps, especially in the sweating process where you want your rub, I'm off screen here, you want your rub to go ahead and adhere and sweat. Yellow mustard. Simple as that. You can use olive oil and use other things, but I'm going to go with yellow mustard. Works the best. Yes, you are going to get dirty, just this part of it. Just keep it going. Get your yellow mustard all over the meat. This is going to help your rub adhere to the meat, sweat to the meat, and give you that flavor you're looking for, especially in the bark. Now, when it comes to bark, I do a couple things I do. Yes, I've made my own rubs, but since we're so busy, we work full time, our kids are very active, it's easy just to buy rub. And the favorite of the kids, right here, Meat Church, their honey hog rub. But I like to add some other things. The gospel, I'm almost out of gospel. The gospel gives a nice deep red color to the meat. But you see that basically out of it. So, back up, found this killer hogs, like barbecue. Same thing, it's going to give you a nice color to it because of the paprika that they put in there, a little bit of cayenne and stuff. But this is where it's interesting. How much rub do you put on there? You want to be liberal, because the whole idea is you're going to use the different binding agents and then the sugars that are found in these rubs to create your bark. And as you know, especially if you're doing pulled pork or you're making a sandwich, the bark gives you that extra little bite, that little flavor you're looking for. So, yes, that's the way you want to see it. I like to cover all the meat with the rub. We can go right here to this side. Just sprinkle away. People are like, "Well, isn't that a lot of rub?" There's never enough rub, so to speak. Now, what I'm going to let this do, you need to let this sit for a minimum of 15 minutes, 30 minutes probably better. Allow this rub, the binding agent, which is the mustard, and actual juices from the meat, they mix together and we call it sweat. What it's going to do is sweat, and you're going to start seeing this like glaze form. You can do this overnight. Sometimes, if I have time, I'll do this the night before and put it in the refrigerator and let it sit all night and let it sweat and form basically this is juicy looking rub mixture on the outside. That is how you get that nice crust on your pulled pork. If you just throw this in there now, the problem is you're going to start burning the sugars and stuff, and it's not going to get the same flavor you're looking for. So give it a chance. I would say at least a half hour to sit and let it sweat. And we'll come back and show you what it looks like at that point. Here's what I mean by sweat. You can see the natural juices of the meat are combining with the rub and starting to get that glistening glaze on the outside. And that is what you're looking for. Okay, here we are at the pit. It is set at 225 degrees. This is a Rectech Bull 700 pellet grill. Pellet grills usually set 225 degrees to get the smoke going. That's the best smoke range for these particular pits. If I have my stick burner, which I did get rid of simply because of convenience, but stick burner, when I used to do these, I used to do it around 250, 275 because you can go to a higher temperature and still get that bark you're looking for because the amount of smoke is produced by the natural wood. Pellets, it's easier to go down to 225 and get the same smoke ring that you're looking for and smoke penetration. So that's why I picked 225. Now remember before I mentioned that you don't want the meat to set with your rub and binder on there until you get nice meat sweat. When meat sweat I'm talking about, take a look at this. Look at that juice on there. I showed a picture of it right there. But here is what it looks like. You want that sweat going with the rub is now starting to set up, and then that will give you the caramelization you're looking for while it's on the pit. So let's get this bad boy on the pit and let it do its thing. Now you usually know where the sweet spots on your pit. For this bigger pit, it's right about a foot over from the left is the best place to put pork shoulders for some reason. That's where I'm going to place that. I'm going to go ahead and put this in there. Get it set up nicely, very nice. My temperature probe. You want to avoid the bone. Get away from the bone. Get the middle part of the meat. I'm going this way. I want to go this way, I'm sorry. So what I'm looking for is I want to keep this on the pit open like this until it gets to around 160, 165. At that point, I will go ahead and wrap and finish the cook at that point. But also during this period, I will take some apple juice mixed with some of the rub, especially the honey hog. But every hour or so, I'll come out and spritz this pork shoulder. Just keep it moist and also give you a chance to really have that bark set up and give you that bite you're looking for. Okay, we're about 3 hours into the cook. Very important about these pellet grills. Sometimes they do a great job, sometimes they have a challenge with internal probe. I'll show you down later in the picture, but it says right now it's 160 internal temperature based on the probe. You always want to use one of these to check your probe or your temperature. So let's lift this up and stick in here. Stay away from the bone. You always want to check the middle part of the meat. And right now I'm at 131. So 3 hours in, a couple things. 130 is about where we're on pace for a good cook. Also, you can see, I'll show a picture later on, that the bark is now starting to set, get nice color going on, but now it's time to start adding some moisture. and I'm using apple juice in a sprayer. Some people like to use apple cider. It's up to choose. Sometimes you use apple vinegar. I prefer to use apple juice because I like the higher sugar content. So do the kids, especially on top of that meat church honey hog. Tell you that really gives you a nice flavor on the outside. So what you want to do is spray it outside of your meat. Okay. Now some people say when you leave the fat cap on, for example, not to spray the fat, but just spray the meat part. I do agree with that. But remember, I cut most of that fat off and actually put it on the bottom. The idea is you just want to add moisture now to the outside. I'm going to do this about every hour until I reach an internal temperature of 160, 160 to 170 degrees. 165 is usually normal, but somewhere in that range. Then I'm going to wrap, double wrap in foil, put it back on there until come to temperature 205. The whole key to this is low and slow. Let that connective tissue inside the meat break down and give you that nice, pull, soft, yummy pork that you're looking for. Now, one thing I did not cover earlier in the video is what am I actually smoking with? So when it was left in the bottom of the hopper, I switched to Bear Mountain using their hickory robust flavor pellets. I'm not being sponsored by any of these pellet companies or by Rectech. Wish I was, but I'm not. But I started that, so nothing wrong with that. Hickory is always a very good choice for any kind of meat, especially even pork. But our kids, go back again, our kids really like that sweet profile. So adding a type of fruit wood on top of that really works out well. So as I let the pellet smoker burn through that hickory, on top of that, I added this competition blend that I picked up before, give it a try. I actually like the flavor profile of this. It has pecan, cherry, and post oak in there. The cherry, wish it had some apple in there too, but the cherry and apple type of fruit woods give you that sweet smoke you're looking for, and then it sets up well on your bark. But right now, I got spritz, maybe one more spritz here. Close the lid, let it get back on. It's lit up for a long time. But let it sit in there. We want this temperature to reach 165 internal. Remember, always double check with this. Don't always rely on your thermometers built into your grill. And then we're going to wrap. Then, well, you can see the storm rolled in. The horses are in. It's time to wrap, though. We're at 165 degrees internal temperature. Look at that. Look at that. Looking good. Time to wrap. Okay, we are wrapped. We're now, we've got 275. Ready to go. Guess what time it is? It is time to pull the pork. Get it? Pull the pork off the pit. We've been wrapped and we have hit the metric temperature. As I mentioned before, I always like to use a thermometer like this to check the temperature. And we put it in, one way you can tell right away if you're on the right temperature and you've been on the pit long enough is, when you put the probe in, it goes in like butter. Nice and smooth, not hitting any connective tissue or anything like that. You have a good idea what's going on, that you are done, so to speak. And right there, you can see, turn the light on. I'm not able to see this. 206, right where I want to be. Oh, the drop is coming out. So, put the lock on. That'll work. Is lock. There you go. Turn the light on. 205. We're right at the temperature we want to be. Time to pull it off the pit. And the important part is, a lot of people forget this part, or this step, is when you pull it off the pit, you gotta let it rest. It's all meat. For a pork butt like this, for pulled pork, a minimum of an hour, I'll let it rest. For brisket, especially with like harder meat like that, I let it rest at least 3 hours. So, but minimum an hour for a pork butt. That way, temperature comes down, and you'll be able to turn this off. Be able to just slide the bone out of the shoulder, stuff, and then pull the meat apart. You want also the temperature come down a little bit, so you're not burning your hands when you're trying to pull the meat apart. But that is how I do pulled pork. I also do a glue of pig style, where I'll wrap it in a banana leaf with just white sea salt and smoke it on the pit. Same principle. Instead of using foil or using a banana wrap the entire time, because you're not trying to get all the smoke in there. The smoke will actually go through the banana leaf for that, but that's another video. So thank you for watching. Remember, if you like what we're doing, we just started a YouTube channel called Boke and His Adventure. Hit the like button, subscribe, more videos to come. Okay, moment of truth, here we go. Time to unwrap the pork and see how it turned out. As I mentioned before, you want to rest at least an hour. Minimum for pork, usually go longer, especially for brisket, which I mentioned before. And of course, I can't get it open. Love the cheat. Cut it open. And double wrap with foil. The whole idea is to keep the heat in with the brisket. So the brisket, listen to me, in with the pork shoulder. There you go. That's what you want to see. Good bark. Got good juice in there. Finished product. Actually, it'd probably be easier. Let me take this out and put it in here so you can take a look. Look how soft that is. Let me get this out of the way. Now the juice you see in there, there's two different levels. One looks a little watery. The yellow part is all the collagen that broke down inside there, and that's what kind of look like it's more like wax, but some flavor in there. One way you test to make sure this is good, you pull the bone out and it comes out clean. Look at that. This yummy goodness. You come in, look at this brew. The dogs are coming to help. And look how this pulls apart. My wife is coming in and grabbing some already, right in the middle of the video. But what I'll do now is shred this and it's ready to go. And what I did not make, or did not have a time to make in the video, is I did make a Hawaiian macaroni salad, which pairs well with pulled pork. Gives you a little different flavor profile than just your traditional macaroni salad. But we'll serve that, and I'll show a picture of that later in the video. So if you like what you saw, like I said before, remember to like and subscribe to our channel, Boke and His Adventure. Have a good one. And look at all the help that I have. There's Dally. Here's Rue. Here's Bonnie. We're just missing, and here's Sassy. For some reason, when I'm pulling the pork, I have all these friends. I wonder why.